This time we will call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson.
Here.
Trustee Doro. Here. Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Washleger. Here. Trustee Ludke. Here. Trustee Connor.
Here.
President Pfannerstill.
Here. If it all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have anybody that would like to speak in public comments? Please step towards the podium at this time. Yeah, we know, yeah. Sir?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Most of you know me. I'm the owner of the Hartland Village Mart.
Your name and
Okay.
address. Yep.
Yeah,
For the record.
Mike Badani, owner of Hartland Village Mart, 301 East Capitol Drive. So I think most of you know why I'm here, pretty much to talk about concerning June 23rd, the bike tour that happened through downtown Business Improvement District. I'm just only bringing up my concerns, but what I've heard, I'll bring that up if anybody's got comments. But my only suggestion, if my whole bottom line comes down to be, is I think we tied up downtown Business Improvement District from different things. It's Jeff, you and I have talked about it in the last couple of days, and Jeff, I talked to you too. Just a couple of the things is just my business was basically shut down. Probably that was the worst day in 14 years that I owned the business, Loss of sales, $9,000, especially even worse than last year's pandemic over the last 9 months that we had. I'm comparing sales. As Ryan, I gave you the sales for the last 3 weeks in a row on a Wednesday. And, we all fight for sales. We all try to take care of customers. We try to take care of the neighborhood. And believe it or not, I pretty much speak, as Jeff, you'll know for a long time, you've known me. I pretty much take care of downtown with the people, customers, neighbors. And, my biggest thing was I've heard complaints from a lot of people, and I can go on, and that's not what it's about. But I think going into future, I'm not saying to shut the race down, but that's the wrong place to do it. That's just bottom line at the end of the day. The damage has been done. I know we can't recover some things, but hopefully we can learn from what we want to do. And just the only other comment is just the sponsorship. I did ask when I was on the board with a bid, because I'm no longer on the board, see if I could sponsor something through Citgo. And basically I was shut down at that point because of Quick Trip. And my only question is, how much has Quick Trip put into this town in the last 14 years as far as donations or anything? So that's all I got to say. If anybody has got any comments or something, but I don't need to go in there later. I think you all got copies of it and everything. But I just wanted to kind of I think we can do it, but maybe do it on a weekend, somewhere in the afternoon. I mean, we have done a great job with a lot of programs in Hartland. I mean, we just had a hometown celebration. We had the fireworks. Yeah, the store benefits that, and we know that it's going to be, sometimes it's going to be a slower time, but at least the neighbors and people are able to move around the traffic around town. That's the main thing, The vendors, I saw the UPS person carrying packages all across town on his, So I think we got to think about when we plan these, I'm not pointing directly fingers at anybody, but just, and I was on the bid. I know we want to do a great job at downtown and just improving things in that. But at the same time, we just got to, learn from this lesson. That's pretty much what I'm going to leave it at. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, can I ask you a question since you're there? And I know you were on the bid board until recently. And I'm doing this on behalf of the members of this board. And since we're on the record.
Yep.
Typically, I wouldn't do this, but I do want to ask, is it fair to say for this board, all of the members that obviously we really look out for the community, that this was brought to the members of this board, but that it was the Business Improvement District Board that did bring it forward asking for the permission? I just was wondering if you could give comment.
It happened right at this table. We know that. And we were, I didn't bring up one thing there. We were told that there's going to be 1,000 people plus in town. I can tell you, I got a videotape on my camera. I can go on. There was no more than 200 people at any given time. I can tell you that. And some businesses might have been benefited on it, but I can tell you over 55-60% of the businesses did not do well, or they did not have customers, you know. Basically, my business, what I did for the day was before 9:30 in the morning. After, beyond that time till 10 p.m. at night, I might have 50 customers at the most. Average day, I'll do about 750 to 800 customers a day. So yes, you're right, Jeff. It was discussed with the board. But, you know, as I said, we can learn things from this, and we can hopefully all get better ideas on how we can do better, you know. But you're right, you know, it was, but like I say, my concern is, you know, going forward, I don't have a problem. I think we all want to improve in town what we want to do, you know.
Sure.
So.
I just wanted to ask and clarify that,
problem,
because
yeah.
I would not want a trustee to have someone
No,
correlate
no,
something
you,
bad with any member of this board when they're just going off of something that's presented to them.
Yeah, oh,
So
I
that's
know,
why I
and I know it comes back to the board, I know, and then, you know, basically even, you know, things like that, you know, I know it was approved, and I'm sure there was some resentment, even including myself. I wasn't sure, but I did say yes, okay, let's do it. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the numbers, you know, I know somebody made a comment to me, $9,000, they would be shutting their business down for the day, or for the rest of the time, you know. Because, I mean, it'll be taken care of it, because I got great neighbors, great people in town, you know, they'll, you know, visit my business and everything, but at the end of the day, $9,000 is pretty hard to come by, so appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments for public comments? Well, then the first item on our agenda, after last call for public comments. Okay, then the first item on our agenda is a presentation by Ruekert and Mielke regarding the state of the village roadways.
Dave Felkner, DPW. I'm here with Pete and Ryan from Ruekert and Mielke. As you stated, this discussion will be on the village roads. Steve and I from Ruekert and Mielke, we rated the roads. That rate study is done every other year. That gets sent to Ruekert and Mielke, then Ruekert and Mielke evaluates it and gives us suggestions on how we go about rehabbing these roads to make them last the longest life we can get out of them before we need to do infrastructure underneath. So Ryan and Pete will discuss the options on some of the roads that we are going to pave.
Did anyone need hard copies of the information that was in the agenda? We've got them here, if it's easier for you to flip through them. Anybody at all? Yeah.
If you have it, I'll take them.
So 2 years ago, I think it was the end of July, I was here at the table presenting and co-presenting the CIP plan to the board. And I think that same night, the plan was approved. And at that time, we were asked to give more lead time to this process so that this board can ponder the recommendations and provide more input in advance. So as Dave had said, the ratings for this, every other year, the ratings have to get done. Those were done in April. Pete and I have had a chance to go through them. We've had a chance to meet with Dave and Ryan twice to arrive at preliminary recommendations. And tonight is really just intended for us to go through it. We want to cover some of the feedback we got from the board 2 years ago that we feel like we're incorporating into these recommendations. And then just want to be available to ask questions. And then I think we're going to be back here, I'll be back here with Dave end of July for the presentation of the entire CIP. So this is just a discussion about the roads, road improvements, and parking lots. So the memo that we drafted that's in your packet, first couple paragraphs on page 1, a few of the things that we heard 2 years ago. Number one, the village board is open to alternative methods for rehabilitating your roads. Number two, the village board provided suggestions to us that we really need to take a look at the volume of the road, the visibility of the roads, and use that as a filter in how decisions are made in which roads to do. The board indicated to us that it was okay allowing the roads to deteriorate to a further level before the work is done. In other words, get more life out of the roads. And so those factors we've included into the methodology that we use to put this together. From a historical standpoint, R&M has been working with the village since 2010. And so we've had, I think, six iterations of doing the PASER ratings, presenting the overall pavement plan for 2 years, and it continues to evolve. The cost of construction, as with anything else, has probably doubled in that last 10 years. And in addition to that, your mileage of roads has increased by 6 miles. So the costs are higher, you have more roads to take care of. So it only makes sense that it's a challenge to reduce the amount of expenditures each year to maintain your roads. There's 3 subdivisions that were built in the mid-2000s, Mary Hill, River Reserve, and Four Winds. And those subdivisions, as we are going to show you in pictures, those roads are in poor shape. They aren't holding up. I think there's a multitude of reasons for that. Number one, the type of asphalt that was used during that era, it was called super pave. It was a more brittle mix, which led to more cracking. The super pave works great on highways where the thickness of the material is this thick, not so much on municipal roadways with thinner lifts. The DOT has gone away from that mixed design, and all the work that's been done in the last 6-8 years has used a more appropriate mix that should last longer. So that's important to note. Those subdivisions had a thinner road section, 8 inches of gravel and 3 inches of asphalt. In 2015, before the next wave of subdivisions was built, that standard was increased to 10 inches of gravel, 4 inches of asphalt. In addition, I believe that the thoroughness of the inspections when these roads are being built, much more thorough in job for inspection. And we're already seeing in your most recent 4 subdivisions, the Windrush, Sanctuary, Overlook Trails, and Four Winds West, those roads are really holding up, and they've been in place for up to 5 or 6 years. So that's the good news. I want to go to page 3. There's a table in here which really is kind of the report card of the history of your road network. And when we go out and rate a road, we give it a rating of 1 to 10. 10 is a brand new road, no cracks, and over time, over a life of 25 to 30 years, those roads are going to start to deteriorate. As they get more cracks and more deterioration, you'll rate them a 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Historically, if you look on the upper part of the chart here in 2010, the village really didn't have any roads in the 4 rating or 5 rating. And in 2010, before the 20 years prior, roads were repaved on a 20-year cycle. The road network overall in the village was rated very high, much higher than your peer communities. And I think the decisions that have been made over the last 6 or 8 years to try to balance the cost and the quality of the roads, the condition of the roads as predicted and as kind of understood has dropped, as the chart shows here. The current overall rating of the roads is a 7.07, which frankly is really good compared to your peer communities. So the decisions that have been made over the last 6 or so years has consciously kind of backed off on the investment into the roads to spread the dollar because you have more roads and the costs are higher. And I would just say that the condition of your roads overall is pretty good. What we want to watch out for is too many roads dropping into that 5 and then into the 4, because once they start dropping there, they go really quick. And you still, I think, have to pay attention to taking care of your roads, doing a certain number of miles of roads each year, so you don't get in a position where 4 years from now you have dollars that you need to expend that are double what you're spending now. So I think it's a balance. On the next page, I wanted to share with you kind of a discussion about the various methods of fixing your roads that we think are on the table. The first one is referred to as a pulverize and repave. That's historically what has been done as far back in the past, probably, Mike, as you remember, right? You go in and you crush the roads. You do a really good job of fixing the base, and then you repave them. It's essentially putting in a new road, and it's also the most expensive option. It also will result in the longest longevity. So in today's dollars, it's about $40 per square yard to pulverize and repave a road. This year, I think the village did its first mill and overlay type project, and you saw what that was in the downtown. It goes pretty quick. It's certainly not a full reconstruct. The cracks that were in the road before the upper layer was taken off, those will reflect back through into the surface course pavement. That is why the life of a mill and overlay, if it's properly crack sealed, will be 15 to 20 years. So I think for the downtown, that was a really good choice on what to do, and I think you're going to be very pleased with how that performs. I want to go all the way to the bottom where it says slurry seal. That is another method that was tried last year and we tried this year in the Harvest Granary Mill Place neighborhood over off of Cardinal. That method is intended purely to put a layer on top of a pavement to sheet the water into the curb and gutter. When the water gets into the cracks and the frost and freeze and thaw happens, it really damages the roads. So that method isn't intended to get the road to look new. It isn't intended to add 10, 15 years of life to the road. It's only really intended to put a coating on top so the water sheets off into the curb and gutter. That's about $5 per square yard, and you can see that the life is in the 5 to 6 year range. Another,
Brian,
yes,
I'm sorry.
yes.
With the slurry coat, I went and extensively looked at what has been going on, and it looks like every single crack came back through. So as far as putting the slurry coat on to get the water to drain off into the curbs, at this point, it's gonna go back into the cracks again.
We typically come in like a year or two after it's slurry sealed and then crack seal those cracks again.
Right.
So that you've got that new sealant on top and then that holds better with the slurry seal. But yes, they do come back through. a lot quicker.
It's worn. It's been there for a year. The snow
Right.
plows will wear it. On a hot days, the car tires when they turn will smudge it, and you can see that. And you can see, I think what you see through there is you can see the tar from the cracks that were sealed. There's still a quarter inch or so of material. It has its purpose, but its purpose isn't to make it look like a new road.
Right.
Its purpose is to
Do
push
you-
it out 5 years from
Do you
being
think it's gonna
repaved.
last 5 years? Because,
It'll wear. It will wear. The plows will wear it off. Yes, it will. The more ideal roads for that treatment would be roads that are smoother, that are probably in a better condition, more like a 7 on a Paisley rating, that have been crack sealed. Hartbrook Drive would be an example of a road that was done in 2013. It's an 8. It's been sealed. It's got a nice smooth. It's not bumpy. That's an example of a road where that would be a more effective
okay,
treatment. The other one that we want to introduce to you this year, and this is a method that I think would be used, on a few occasions, but it's an edge wedge mill and overlay. It's essentially putting an overlay on top of the existing road to lift the crown of the road up to get the water off into the curb and gutter. And along the edge of the curb and gutter, they would grind a thickness down like so by the curb and flush with the asphalt 6 feet away, and they would just do an overlay so that you don't overlay into the gutters. And we have some pictures and want to show you where that might make sense to do that. On the bottom of page 4, in the past, the roads were being pulverized at a 5 rating. We would suggest for the pulverize and repave that you let those roads go to a 4. Maybe you're going to see some even go to a 3. Mary Hill, Four Winds, River Reserve, those are all at about a 4 level right now. And within 2 to 4 years, if we don't do anything there, they're going to be a 3. You're going to start to see asphalt chunks coming up and that kind of thing going on. But if you're going to essentially rebuild the road with pulverizing and overlaying and using that more expensive method, you might as well get as many years out of those roads as you can. The roads that should be mill and overlaid shouldn't wait till they get to a 4 or a 3, because there's going to be too many cracks under on the layer of asphalt that you leave. So the roads that are in the 18 to 20 year range, 22 years, that are in that 5 Paisley rating, It might seem backwards, but those are the roads that you're gonna wanna mill and overlay, maybe before you do the pulverize and repave on the roads that are even in worse condition. I think it's about timing to do it at the right time with the right method to extend the life of your roads as much as you can. So on the bottom of page 5, the 3 subdivisions, the Four Winds, the River Reserve, and Mary Hill, we've got pictures that I'll go through here. They're in really rough shape. One of the challenges financially is that those subdivisions were essentially built at a very similar time frame, and the roads are coming due at a very similar time frame. But I don't think the village's budget wants to spike in a 1 year or 2 year time frame. So the way we've looked at this is to try to stage them and do it without ignoring the other needs in the village. So like I said, there's other roads that should be mill and overlaid, and I think what I wouldn't suggest that you do is spend 6 years working on those 3 subdivisions, and year 7 you come back, because then what you're gonna find is these other roads are too far foregone to mill and overlay. So we're gonna try to suggest that you do a little bit of both. And specifically with Mary Hill, that subdivision, we've seen evidence in that subdivision of trenches settling. There's been patching over the utilities done over the years. More recently, the Greystone Boulevard, the entrance boulevard, had a very long length of trench significantly settle. So we're uncomfortable with pulverizing and repaving that neighborhood right now. So what we would propose, and there's a separate packet in here, it is essentially a profile mill. It's called an edge wedge mill. And this is a case study that I wanted you to at least have access to in Bondwell that we did in 2015. The road was kind of in a similar condition. The edges of the road had settled below the curb lines, so the water can't get off the roads, and that's pretty common in Mary Hill. And those roads were a 5 rating, and you can page through and see some construction photos. Essentially, you're just milling the edge of the road. In some cases, you might have a level in the middle of the road, scratch coat, and then you overlay it, and you can see some pictures here of what it looked like 4 years later in 2019, and 5 years later in 2021. And yes, the cracks have come through as was expected, but this is going to get at least 10 years of life out of it. And the cost is probably a third of what a pulverize and overlay would, or repave would be, and the cost is about half of what a mill overlay would be. So the 2-year forecast and suggestion is on the format that you'll see a month from now. What's missing is other CIP items, but this is the summary for the road program that we would suggest. And really just highlighting 2022 and 2023. And before I go through the individual roads, on the left side, color-coded, the dark blue would represent 2022 with the various roads. There's some information in here about how many square yards of road there is, what the Paiser rating was in 2021, what it's anticipated to be at the paving year, how long it will have been since it was last paved. Then there's 4 columns here that show the 4 different methods that we had talked about and what the unit price is, and then the math just works its way out. So if you see an X in the column here that says pulverize and repave, that would be what the costs are based upon. And we're trying over the 6 years to try to level it and keep it consistent with the amount of annual money, so you don't have the spikes, and the amount of money that we're suggesting is necessary to keep your ratings at the level they are is on the ballpark of $1 million per year, which is roughly about what it's been going backwards 8-10 years. And so if you go back to page 6, in Mary Hill, I think what was planned last year in the budget was the more intensive mill and overlay. And we would recommend doing the edge wedge profile mill and overlay. It'll be a relatively quick process. And three benefits for doing that. Number one, you'll get the crown back in the road, you'll smoothen out the drive, you're gonna get 10 plus years of life out of that, you're gonna get the water in the curb and the storm sewer where it belongs. You're going to disconnect Maryhill from River Reserve and Four Winds. You're gonna move that subdivision to a different time frame when it has to come back around to be pulverized and repaved. That's probably the biggest benefit. You'll also then, I think, be much more comfortable about the trenches probably having been stabilized. That cost would be half of what we forecast last year for the mill and overlay for that subdivision. You can see the problems. The pavement is really in rough shape. It's gonna get worse. This is pretty common in the subdivision. The water can't get off the road, and that makes it really, it's gonna go really quick. The next project on page 8 is finishing off Imperial Drive and Dundee Lane. Those would be the mill and overlay type option. You'll see that that road is 26 years old. It's really held up well, the base, and so we think the mill and overlay option is a good one. On page 9, in each of the next 4 years, we're recommending essentially doing what you did on North Avenue and Capitol to 3 different primary sections of road in the central part of the village. So this one would be East Capitol from Maple going east out of the village. That road is 24 years old. That tells us the base is in pretty good, really good condition. In a mill and overlay there would be worthwhile, and it's rated a 6 now, and when that would get done, you know, the timing would be pretty good to do that. On page 10, this is 2020. 2023 would be going through the industrial park and doing mill and overlays on James, Richards, Walnut Ridge Drive. Those roads are 30 years old. Again, the base is in really good shape on those roads, and a mill and overlay, I think, is gonna do a good job in extending those well out into the future. 2023 then would be Cottonwood Avenue from right downtown south past the tracks all the way to Cardinal. That road is in the 20-year time frame. Fair amount of cracks on that road, and we would suggest mill and overlay similar to what you did on North and Capitol. Page 12, in the year 2024 and 2025, that would be the 2 years where you would go in and pretty much do a full pulverize and repave of the entire River Reserve subdivision. And you can see the pictures there. That road is in horrible shape. You wouldn't want to mill and overlay that. 2025 and 2026, Four Winds West, or Four Winds looks very similar to River Reserve, and that would again be a pulverize and repave. And that would take you out for the next 6 years, 5 years. So that was supposed to be 10 minutes. Sorry for going longer than that. Really wanted to be available to answer any questions, get feedback. If you want to ponder this and, you know, send us further questions or things we should consider leading up to the end of July meeting, we can do that too.
So, like we saw on the pictures, some of them like River Reserve and other subdivisions, you know, when you see the time of how old that road would be at when we redo it, whichever method we use, but like some of those were 19, 20, 21 years. Is it a benefit to the village to utilize certain methods once the road's redone to do something after 7 years like a slurry? Is that worth it, or is it not beneficial to the village to get additional time frame out of it? Only because, I mean, is there any way to get it to 30, 35 years, or is 20 about the maximum we can look at? No, I know there's
So
some,
yes.
and I don't, my second question was gonna be, how come some of them last so much longer than others? Like, River Reserve is not highly trafficked, is it just the construction?
It's the 3 reasons I had mentioned. It's thinner gravel,
Yep.
thinner asphalt, different asphalt material.
Okay.
The good news is, like a lot of the roads in Hartridge have already gone through a second generation of road rebuild with the pulverized repave. And when that's done, there's a lot of attention paid to the base, a lot of base repair. So when those roads start to come around again, I think you're gonna be able to do mill and overlays and be using that cheaper method.
But
As far
so
as-
River Reserve, like if they redo that road, or those roads that are in there, there's a high likelihood that it's gonna last longer than the 19 or 20 years
Absolutely.
because of the new,
Yes.
that's what I was asking for
Yes.
the board to know.
Yes, and for the other part of your question, should another method be used to preserve the road? The number one method would be the crack sealing program, which the village has done a very diligent job on the last 5 years. For sure doing that. And if you look at Windrush, it's already 5 years old, and there's hardly any cracks at all, and they're being sealed right away. It's not too far away from year 7, year 10, and I wouldn't do a slurry seal at that level. The road's in fantastic shape. So, I'm gonna say half the communities we work with will do some kind of slurry seal or a slag seal. There's many that don't do anything. And I think, because you're gonna be cycling through the second time on the roads, I think they're gonna be, built better. I don't think it's absolutely required that you would need to do that. The crack sealing is the most important thing.
All right. Thanks. Anybody else? Questions? Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
If you
much.
guys, if the board does have concerns, please email us, because like I said, we're coming July, is that 23rd or 25th? We have the meeting here to discuss the CIP. We just wanted to make sure you guys had kind of all the facts and why we were looking at what we're doing. You know, and when they do the mill and overlay, we're gonna try and shoot for that week, like we did out here to get all the roads back open.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item that we have is a consideration of a motion to approve village board minutes from the June 14th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the June 14th meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is a consideration of a motion to approve the vouchers for payments in the amount of $276,058.13.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $276,058.13.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers. Anybody have anything? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have are consideration of actions related to licenses and permits for bartenders, operators licenses. We have granted. Then we have weights and measures licenses for Sendik's Food Market at 600 Hartbrook Drive.
I'll make a motion to approve weights and measures for Sendik's Food Market, 600 Hartbrook Drive.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the weights and measures license for Sendik's. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That license will be granted. Then we have temporary operator's license for Party in the Park Chamber Event. This is for Donna Dorrell and Donald Minturn Jr.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary operators bartender's license for the Parties Red.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve those temporary operators licenses for Party in the Park. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Same.
That motion has been carried, and those will be granted. And I just lost the list, Jeff, you big dummy, sorry. Then we have temporary Class B beer and wine license and street use permit. The applicant is Donate Life of Wisconsin. This is, the location's 122 East Capitol Drive. The event is Palmer's Steakhouse 10th event. The date is Sunday, August 29th, 2021. This is the 10th event in Hartland, in case anybody didn't know, just the way it's worded.
I make the motion that we approve the Donate Life of Wisconsin for Palmer Steakhouse.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 10th event at Palmer's Steakhouse for Donate Life of Wisconsin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. I believe that's it for the licenses. Am I correct? I think I am. Now we have consideration of a motion to schedule a public hearing for the Zion Church Redevelopment, the church, whose approval and rezoning is being sought from institutional to B3 Central Business Mixed Use District on the recommendation of the Plan Commission during the July 26, 2021 Village Board meeting.
Just a little background with this, the developer called and asked for us to postpone the public hearing 1 month while he still works through some of the items from the plan commission.
To clarify, that's what led to us doing this
Correct.
now.
Yep, the
month
public
has
hearing was
already-
supposed to be
okay.
today.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted to clear that for all the board members and myself to make sure we're on the right track here, so. So we would be setting this for during the July, so it'd be during the July 26th.
I'll make a motion to schedule the public hearing for the Zion Church redevelopment for July 26, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set that public hearing for the change in zoning for the Zion Church redevelopment. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have discussion and consideration of a motion to approve a contract with Baker Tilly for audit services. Again, this is a service contract. I'll let Ryan touch on
Yeah,
this.
so the
Just talk a little
contract
bit.
with Baker Tilly is up. We've been with Baker Tilly for, predates my time here. I consider them a very good audit firm. They have specialists in governmental accounting. But again, this is up to the board. It is a professional service. We're happy with that client. We can go out for bid, so it's really whatever you guys would like to do. I'd love to see us stay with them, but again, it's up to the board.
Do you want to add in what we talked about, and then in the future you'll let them know?
Yeah, and again, I mean, we still have time. The contract, technically, the audit wouldn't start until December, but we're kind of going through some contracts. That's why the next two items you see are contracts that are up. They should have probably came earlier.
So now on here, it shows that it's gonna be an increase of $12.75 per year?
Yeah, total, yeah.
That, an increase, but I don't know, what's the total price? And what
Oh,
the
I think it was,
increase, or just so
did
I
they give
kinda
it to
know?
us? Yeah, it's, page 6 of their packet. So they break it down by a charge for the water, the village, water, sewer, TIF, and the bid, the Business Improvement District.
Oh, there it is.
So, 25, I wanna say it's around 32,000
Okay.
for the year. And they had held that fee flat since 2015.
Just so everybody knows, and Ryan, I think, knows I'm not throwing him under the bus. It has been very important to this board, including myself and every other member of this board, that when contracts are coming up, that we know ahead of time, so it's not right at the end. Ryan and I did talk about that, and I said it's important. Ryan has assured me that in the future, he's gonna make sure that the board knows about these ahead of time, but I do commend him for bringing that up and being willing to jump on that. Just wanted to throw that out there. Ryan, what'd you have for a total?
32.
Around
What did
32.
It's around 32, 33,000.
32, 33. I just wasn't seeing it. I wasn't finding it in the packet.
I missed that page or something too myself.
This must be the new
At least that's for
pricing.
this year.
Right.
33,025.
30
Yeah, I
what?
thought it was 33.
33,025.
Thanks.
So it will increase $12.75 per year.
1275 total for so it'll go up 1275 and then stay flat for the next 2 years. I
Okay,
think,
so this
1275.
says per year, so I thought it meant.
Yeah, I
second
bet-
year,
yeah,
another
not-
$12.75.
No,
third year,
they're going
another
up. They're raising from their previous
Exact-
rates and
They're
then
gonna hold
staying
it,
at-
$12.75, hold the contract for 3 years
Correct.
at that price.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
23.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Baker Tilly Audit Services with the increase of $12.75 held for a 3-year contract.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Baker Tilly for the amount of $33,025. Any discussion? Ryan, I do appreciate you being forthcoming and saying, yes, I'd really like you to stay with them.
Yeah,
Even
again,
though knowing that it's the board's decision, I think that's cool that you just come right out and make it so easy on all of us and let us know where you stand.
thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we have discussion and consideration of a motion to approve this another contract, a contract with Grota Appraisals LLC for assessor services. I again am gonna try and turn this over to our administrator, Ryan Bailey.
So again, if you recall, about 4 years ago, we went through the bid process for assessors because we had some issues with our previous assessing firm. Grota did a 4-year contract with us. In the second year, we did a full revaluation of the village. I feel they did a very good job. Now he's come back with a new contract that is slightly cheaper. I forgot. I know I told everyone the amount in my memo. Yeah, about $600 per month cheaper. So what they would be doing is in year 2, they would be doing a full revaluation again with the exterior pictures and any permits that they pick up since that time. Again, they've compared to what we had. I think it's night and day. I think there's, I think people think the prices are pretty close. Unfortunately, the market has kind of taken off again. So, but in 2 years that might kind of readjust. So again, the option here would be to sign a new contract with Grota for a 4-year or to go out for bid for the assessing contract.
We've had we've had some problems with assessors, and what I like about Grota is he's the one that has come up with the plan of evaluation that has been accepted throughout the state. And yeah, it just seems that he's on the forefront of doing it, and they're very consistent, and not a lot of complaints, but a lot of support for us. And I think it would be wise to maintain a contract with them. So I'll make the motion that we approve the extension of the 4-year contract with Grota.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to stick with Grota Appraisal Services and to utilize the contract that they've, or renew the contract that they have with us, or approve the contract that they have with us. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion is carried. Am I reading mine right, that I have the next item as announcements?
No.
No.
Local. No.
Okay. Oh,
Number 8?
I'm not reading very well tonight.
Not my
I'm
glasses.
sorry, everybody. The next item we have on discussion is extremely important. That's why I was asking why I was so off, but I was just not able to read, so I apologize. It shouldn't scare everybody. But discussion and consideration of submittals for the village local contest. And so I will, I'm gonna open it right up for discussion. As I find it to be, I think it is, as it is to all 7 members of us, and a lot of people on staff, that this is a very important topic. So I'm gonna open discussion to whoever wants the floor first to talk a little bit.
It looks like we had quite a few submittals. So thank you to the staff for putting that together for the community.
I think that it's really cool the way that people, and I do gotta say, I mean, there was a lot of trustee input on this that said, you know, let's put it out to local artists and things like that. And I just think that this whole process is kind of cool on what we're doing. And I say that, I mean, for all of us. I do think there's changes happening in Hartland. A lot of them are for the good. But we're also really, really holding on to our history and everything, 4th generation. We have people that are, I'm lucky to be in the community as I just moved here, but my kids can say they're 1st generation. But I think this is really cool what we're what we're doing, and I'm not sure what this process is gonna be on deciding, you know, as I look through all these logos. There is a logo I saw, and I'll just throw it out there. I really like the logo, not necessarily the font. And it's the one that shows a train, a river, and a path. I think it is part of our history, so I'm just throwing my 2 cents in. Rail was a huge part of the reason that Hartland became what it was. The river, we used to have a grist mill. I actually had to look up the word grist years ago when I was first elected to find out what is that. I didn't realize basically it's flour. They just grind it up. But I mean, they had a pond just to create that. But Watertown Plank Road also used to come right through Hartland, as did Old Highway 16. So there's a logo you'll see. I don't necessarily know if I am all for the font, but I do like seeing it, and it's that one. It shows a path, it shows the trains coming through. I like it because it feels like we're going into the future, but also is respecting our past. That doesn't mean that's the one we're gonna go with, but to get the conversation started, I did like that idea. I know I had talked with Clerk Eigel, you know, even before it started, and I said, I hope that there's something that comes in that really shows that. Watertown Plank Road was a toll road that, you know, came through, and it used to come through, I believe, what ended up being Highway 16. The old Highway 16 is on the Capitol Drive that comes through. There's just a lot of history there. I've talked with Trustee Landwehr, and I want to preserve that history, in my opinion, some, but also what are we going to in the future? And I felt that logo really did it well. I'd love to see it on flags so that we can sell them and make money for the village, but we can buy them and all the trustees can put them outside of their residences, and we can continue to build on the respect and the real love that there is for this village. So I'm gonna leave it to other trustees, but I really liked it.
I also have a favorite, not that one, but my question would be the simplicity. When this is being put on stationery envelopes, if there's a couple in here that are very detailed, and I don't know if we want, I mean, that's one of the ones I like, but with that kind of detail, is that too much for a logo, is my question. And I think, Donna, don't you work with some of that stuff that was because the one I liked is very detailed, and I thought, well,
It is
maybe that's too
hard.
much for a logo.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're absolutely right, that it is hard. The smaller it gets, it's harder to be clear and precise.
Yeah.
Just looking at the shirts right now that they have on.
Cause,
Right.
yeah, cause this one I really liked was of the old downtown,
That's the one
the
I
village,
picked
yeah.
right there.
But if you start shrinking that, it's gonna look like a black blob here with just 2 white stripes, I'm afraid. But I love that, but that's way different than what we have now too. But I would have to ask the expertise of somebody who's in the field, so.
Sure.
How small would the logo go? Of what the
Well, it
village
will
would
go
need?
small. I mean, it's gonna be on letterhead. It's going to be,
look at
I mean,
this right here.
part of the reason of designing it, I mean, keep in mind, I mean, things that you say, the trustees, they're the letters that each of us got when we were elected. You know, as trustees or as whoever, when
right
we were
here.
elected,
Yeah.
right there, you can see on a piece of paper, it'll get pretty small. So, I would agree with Trustee Doro's point. I mean, it can become tough. I mean, those are things to think about. No, I feel I think once we narrow it down some, and maybe we'll even need a special get-together with beverages to sit and talk about this. But, no, maybe we will.
Well,
I don't know, but, I mean, we are deciding kind of the future of our village. We've used that logo for a long time.
Maybe there's a
we
way
have-
to use that, I mean, because that is my favorite, but maybe to simplify it a little bit, that was a very detailed artistic, logo. Maybe there's a way to simplify it. Of course, we don't, it wasn't told to us, by the way, who sent in what.
Right.
So,
And they're phenomenal.
they are.
Oh, I think, I agree.
They're so good.
Everybody's stepping up to some stuff.
It's,
Yes.
it's great to see the difference too, right, of all the different logos, like people
Yep.
putting in their own concepts,
Yep.
cause
And I want everybody to chime in, because I think it's almost like, I just look at this conversation like
It's
we're
fun.
sitting around the living room, but we are deciding a lot of things that are for the
it's a
future of the
long
village,
term.
and it all comes just down to opinion. It doesn't mean that any one person is right. I think it is fun. And I will tell you, the only things, like for myself, one of the reasons I personally was so excited for the logo and had talked to some residents about it, I'm like, and I know other cities do it, but I was like, it's time for us to have a flag. If a business wants to put out a flag, that's a Hartland flag, that is a flag for our village. We want to get to that point, but also I had heard rumblings from certain residents that the real wispy cursive that we have for our logo right now, it's not the same as that, but we have a
Yeah.
real wispy, they don't like it. It gets very difficult to read. When Clerk Igel sends letters out, sometimes that gets really tough for some people to read. That doesn't mean we don't have to stay with it. I'd like to see us get away with it and go with a new font. That's just me, but I'm only one. But I think this is exciting, and it doesn't have to be decided right now. And maybe we do end up saying, hey, we're gonna have a time where us trustees are gonna go to one of the local businesses around Hartland, and we're just gonna sit and talk. You know what I mean? We'll sit for an hour and talk. But we are deciding something that's part of our future, and I think that's really exciting. I think this board is part of a transition where 30 years they're gonna look back and be like, yeah, that was the board that was carrying Hartland into that next century, let's say.
I like the one that you to Jeff. I guess I look at Hartland. I look at three assets. You know, we got the Ice Age Trail, we got the Park River, we got Nixon Park. Everybody's got a downtown. You know, I mean, that if we're trying to build things around the river and utilizing the river, the park, a central spot of in our village is Nixon Park. And I would like this, I don't know if it's a fountain that we got now in Nixon. I don't know if you've all seen the fountain in Nixon.
Did they put it in?
It's working really, it's really impressive. And it's been there for a while. But I would like to,
No, it's working.
It's working again.
It's working.
I would have thought that we'd have a special showing for the village board where Mr. Falker would have provided beverages so we could look at it, but okay. Thank you for telling me. Sorry for interrupting.
okay, I'm done.
Sorry for, no, that was very rude of me. I'm sorry. That was
No,
out of order.
I just would like, you know, to me, that's our three assets. I mean, everybody's got a downtown, everybody's got a railroad track. I mean, everybody's got a lot of things, but what nobody has is that Park River, the Ice Age Trail, and then Nixon Park. And if somebody looks at us, what are they gonna come here? Are they gonna, this is it. So I was hoping that I'd find something like that, but I like this, with the trail, the river, the railroad tracks. I wasn't really sold on, but I'd like to have a fountain or something with that park. I mean, heck, we're spending a lot of money in that park, and we want to build it up. And if the DPW do a better job, it'd be a lot nicer. It's getting colder in here, huh? No, I mean, but I think that's just one of our assets.
Anybody from the public that wants to speak?
I think that, looking at that logo that you had picked up, if you shrink that down, don't you think that's gonna look just like a black blob? I mean, I don't mean to insult anyone, I apologize.
I personally think it needs some adjusting.
Yes,
I more than
yes.
anything wanted to, and I don't know what the rights on that or anything like that. I don't know if anyone knows. I did like the idea of it though, that it represents us, and it is another
Yes.
thing that no other community can have, that you had.
Right.
That you have the river, the rail. Now they show the trail here, I mean, the Watertown Plank Road. It doesn't mean I'm right, it's just throwing it out there. I mean, honestly, I would like it if it was color,
But
as opposed to
do we
black
have
and
to
white,
have
but
somebody else
that's
use
just
it?
me. I mean, I don't know.
I like the inside circle, if that's what I like.
Right. So,
Do we have to copyright it once we decide that nobody else uses
uh,
it? Yes?
Ms. Igel will take care of it.
Okay. I just
It
was
says it
wondering.
in the contest that
Oh, I
anything
didn't
that
know.
they
I was
sent
just
in
wondering.
would be
Okay.
copyrighted and we would
have the
own it.
rights.
We would own
Okay.
it. So we can change it, but I think it'd be right, we still give the accolades to that person.
Oh, yes, yes, I just, I did,
Ceremonies.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that we would all agree with that, right?
You guys just want drinks?
No?
Would that be a selling point?
Yeah, so the only thing that, just from my experience, my background in marketing, is that I think sometimes when it comes to logos, people tend to put too much in their logo. It becomes everything that they are, and they want to encompass everything. And I agree with Trustee Myers. I mean, we have some remarkable things, but that's what makes us Hartland. And so I care more about the name Hartland being pristine and there, because I think that encompasses everything. The three assets, from police to fire, fantastic schools, awesome neighborhoods, and I want to encompass all of that. Because yes, we have those three assets that you talked about. I agree with them. I think that's one of our biggest pieces of quality of life, but I think what really brings the quality of life together is the actual name of Hartland. The cleaner it is, the easier it is. I think, for us to mass produce as well. I get really nervous in my background of graphic design about getting really busy in small, I mean, whether you're stitching or putting a lot of color into it, you're gonna have to have different variations, and so it just makes me a little nervous to get really detailed, when really the goal is just, we're refreshing what we have, which is the village of Hartland. So I would just take that into consideration. I'm a big supporter of keeping the heart. I think that's what makes us what we are. And so I do like the ones that have kind of the heart that's clean, a little bit more simple on the side. And I do like the one that has the clock that's in it as well on the top. I think that looks really fresh, and I think that's the central, point of how to get to all those areas, whether that was the railroad, or whether that's Nixon Park, or whether that's downtown, or to residential. So I do like that one as well. But I would agree, I almost wonder if we need to like whittle it down and get together and have a really good discussion, because I think
it's our decision.
yeah, and I think I mean, there's a lot. I love how people talked about, people put the leaves in there, people brought the river in there.
Yeah. And all
Different
like,
shapes,
I
I
think
mean, they're
everybody here
good.
is saying, everybody that submitted,
Yeah.
everybody that won, they did phenomenal.
There's different
This board
colors
is
that we don't
extremely
traditionally
respectful.
use, and I'm like, oh, that's an
Yep.
interesting color. I
Yep.
like that.
I even Googled village and city logos, because I never really looked at them, and to your point, they are very sharp, but they're very kind of
Clean.
clean and not a lot of busy work, and I was kind of shocked, to be honest
I
with you,
just
but
think
I've never
about,
done
we
it.
have to
But
redo all the
point,
signs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like, so you're talking about, we have all of our village signs. So welcome to downtown, you have Centennial, Nixon, we're gonna do all of that. Well, the logo also gets used with police and fire, and their font they have all that. So I want it to be like really clean and easy to update as well over time. We've also got colors out there, so you're talking about a whole rebranding as well. So I do maybe think it takes a little bit more.
I think.
Absolutely.
I think it takes some time, and this is not a slight at all.
Yeah.
I know for myself, like now.
It's hard,
this
and
is
I don't
why
know
it'll
if
be
I
good
wanna
that
make
we
a
get together,
decision.
because I don't, like for myself, and I do think it's part of the logo of our history, because I think ever since the 50s, they even had a billboard that had,
The heart.
Hartland, the heart of Waukesha County, come here. And for myself, I know that because, like, living in Hartland, seeing the heart, I've always thought to myself, it's spelled H-A-R-T, land. Well, man, they think we all just don't know how to spell, but it is historical
It
that
is
people have
historical.
put that in there. But, that's where I think we will have to get down. I think we're gonna have to whittle it down.
I do too.
I
It's,
think
and it's
we're
gonna be
have
hard.
to-
It's almost
Which is,
like
it's not a real bad idea in the middle of summer in Heartland for all of us to get together in Heartland and sit and go through logos.
No.
But it'd be my suggestion
it's
that
a
we sit and
rebrand.
kind of do that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough too. It's almost like I don't wanna make a decision because some of them are so good. You know, they're good. I'm impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through all the logos. I mean, I've drawn my logos and for all my businesses that I've had in the past and other businesses, and different businesses carry different logos for reasons, and you can get more detailed on other businesses. But what Rick said, when it comes down to a village or a municipality or even the state, you want to kind of keep it simple. I think the logos that were presented to us are phenomenal. I think that every single person put a lot of thought into the logos that were presented to us. I think that if we all sit down and look at every single one and pick out the best characteristics of all of them and simplify it, I think we as a board can come together with a fantastic logo.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think so too.
I'm also in agreement that it has to be simpler, just from my background as well, to be simpler, so I absolutely agree with Trustee Lukey, but, my other thought is that if we do find one that we like, there's nothing wrong with going to that person and asking them to
Yeah.
tweak it for us, say, here are our
Right.
ideas, we really
Absolutely.
love the cleanness of this one, but would you be able to? So we're still using theirs and allowing them to tweak it for us.
Yeah.
So,
I agree, like work with the artist.
Yep.
Agreed.
And also, we gave it out there, but we didn't, maybe it's our fault, didn't give them a lot of specifics.
Right.
so
Right.
but we
narrowed
wanted
in
all the
into-
ideas, I love it.
Right.
yeah.
I think it's
Right.
great. And I think that's a good idea, and I think that, I think everybody on the board would allow it, but I'm encouraged by even this discussion, but to be doing this with the board, it is kind of, it's fun.
fun, yeah.
What I would like to do, since we have the logos in from the contest at this point, and to Trustee Dorrell's point, I think that is a great insight to say, let's say we come down on a logo and we want something tweaked, we know who sent it in, we can go back to that artist, that way we're still able to say it's fully that person's logo.
We're gonna have to be told who sent it in.
So is this board
So the one
open
person that
to,
knows.
if, and what do you guys think for, open discussion, what do you guys think for, I'm thinking each trustee picks 2 or 3, and then we're gonna meet, and it will not probably be in this village boardroom, we probably will meet as a group, we'll call quorum, we'll let people know that it's going on, but it'll just be the board to kind of sit and decide and talk, and it'll be somewhere in Hartland, at village expense. Not saying it won't be, but we sit and we'll kind of talk where it's more open. We'll have an hour or 2 that we can, kind of go back and forth
great
and talk.
idea.
What do you guys think?
Great
I
idea.
like it.
Plus, we're supporting our businesses by picking one. and
I think
doing
it's a
that.
great idea.
All right.
Do you want a motion, President?
A motion would work, advising staff to send out, to find out when we're all available, that we get together on a weeknight. It can be an hour and a half, or whatever we decide, but we can get together, we can talk, we can have I think it'll be nice.
Everyone bring their top 2 or top 3.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody bring your top 2 or 3, and we'll sit down and talk. I think this needs to be a fun thing. Regardless, I think just the rebranding, no matter where it goes, is gonna be good and beneficial for the future of Heartland. So the nice thing is we get together and know that we're deciding something that's kind of.
Gonna be a legacy.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Are you hoping for a night in the next week or 2? Obviously before the next meeting is July 12th.
Yeah, I would say if people are available in the next week or 2, and I'm almost thinking of allowing staff to kind of put it out there and put some feelers out there, but then kind of decide a night for us and pick one of the local businesses and we'll go there. And,
I like it. I'll make a motion that the staff direct us to get together as a board to discuss the logos, where we're gonna bring, board members will bring 1, 2, 3 logos that they like.
yep.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that staff will send out a date to get together for the board to talk about logos. Obviously, a quorum will be called for that, so I'm throwing this, it's been moved and seconded for discussion. Then public will be notified that, so if people come and stand around us and watch, obviously we can't stop that. But we'll be somewhere out in the public, most likely, or that's my guess right now. Obviously, we'll pay our own way when it comes to drinks that have anything in them that has alcohol. But that's village policy. But it'll be nice for the board to get together and decide this legacy, so to speak. So, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have announcements to the board. Anybody have announcements?
I
I'm
wanted
sure we're
to
gonna say the same thing, but
just a shout out to all the kids that came and decorated their bikes and did the little pre-parade kid bike race. It was a lot of fun. The kids had fun. It was great to see all their smiling faces and how excited they got to race down the street. And it was just a good event, and I can't wait to see it grow more in the future.
and to add to that, I think, because Trustee Dorrell brought it up 3 years ago, and we were gonna do it, and obviously weather not permitting, COVID last year, but we had no idea, but for the first year, I thought it was a great turnout, so to your point, it can only get better as more people, spread the word. So for first year, I think it was a fantastic show. But I'd also like to thank, the whole weekend, I think, was fantastic. The fireworks display, the parade in general, so, everybody to put together, the village board, DPW, police, fire, I think everybody did a fantastic job. I had some people that were standing in front of my store that had never been to it from out of town, and just were amazed at the way it was. So I've never seen a parade so well put together, so organized, and it was just so enjoyable. And the length of the parade, the fireworks, like the same thing, were just phenomenal. It was like a grand finale from start to finish. So I would say I'd challenge any other municipality to have better fireworks and celebration than ours, and I mean it.
You've had about 10 people say these are the best fireworks
Yeah.
presentation that they've ever seen.
Me too.
It's just outstanding, outstanding.
I'd like to thank Darlene for all the work she puts in,
Absolutely.
especially that parade and organizing all of that. She does a lot of work in the background.
Thank you.
So,
Ryan
Yes,
is so,
absolutely.
Ryan literally is like, oh, now she's putting all the words in the
No,
minutes.
It's like,
Something tells me Ryan's gonna have
I
like a
want that
big
in there.
I
rotten
wanna-
egg on his desk
I
tomorrow.
want to give a shout out to the police and fire too, because where I sit at the parade, I have an opportunity to watch both of your services be kind of deployed, and both of your crews are so professional. It is unbelievable. My father's in from out of town, and he just had the best time talking to members of both of your staff, and they're just so nice and courteous, but also being always watching. Their eyes are always going. It's remarkable. I'm very impressed. Thank you for that, because that's what keeps these events safe. So, thank you both.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I had numerous people in my business just raving about the fireworks, the parade, best fireworks they've ever seen. The finale was the best they've ever seen. Yeah, what we put together and the hard work of our staff and especially Darlene with the parade and keeping everything organized, I commend our staff for hanging in there and doing a great job, and everybody just seemed to absolutely love this weekend, so
Good weekend.
it was great. We got to keep it
It's a
up.
great weekend.
Good weekend.
Yeah. Well done, Hartland.
Absolutely. Anybody else with announcements? I do wanna, I'm just gonna kind of second what you said, and you're right. Darlene Heigl, thank you so much on behalf of this entire board, because I think we all have the same sentiments. The amount of work and what you do to make this parade special for this entire community. It's my understanding, you said this is the first year you got to actually walk
walked
it
it.
and
It was
see.
great. Yeah.
Darlene walked with Kiwanis, but to see all those people and just those smiling children and
great.
everything, I thank you so much. You should stand up and take a bow
No, I'm
for
good.
everything, for everything that you do. And along with it, I do want to give a special thank you, even though there's no one from that organization here. Shore West Realtors for stepping up. It's my understanding, according to Darlene, that's the first time we've had someone come and take that $5,000, that
Sponsorship.
sponsorship. And yesterday, they emailed Darlene and said that they also want to do that next year. So not only is Hartland growing into, when people say, oh, let's do this, we may hem and haw up here as a village board, but it's all in trying to lead Hartland in the right direction. And I think that based on what people are seeing, we're definitely going in the right direction, including with sponsorships. But a big thank you to Shore West for stepping up to do that, because that allows the village to do more and just make this better. The fireworks on Friday night were phenomenal. Obviously, PD and firefighters, some of you get to ride in the parade, some don't, but you guys are all working and doing all of this, and but it is appreciated. DPW, obviously, no one sees what you do. You go and do all your work beforehand, dropping everything off, and other than the board, no one thanks you, but we really do thank you. The parade was wonderful. And maybe it was just more special because we came out of COVID. I don't know. But also to Trustee Doral and Trustee Connor, bringing back that kids bike race. I never had my kids in it, but there's people that have been saying, hey, we used to have that, and I'm so happy they brought that back. Thank you for Donna, I'm very sorry that you had to run the whole time. So next year we got to make sure we have enough volunteers for them. So we have a trustee that's supposed to be riding in the parade that's not running with the kids. But we'll work on that. But you guys, thank you very much. And in the future, I will tell you, the community really wants a bigger weekend that is not taking away from what staff wants. I am hoping I was hoping for someday, but I think now is the time for us to start talking as a board about, do we want to make things somewhat bigger, where basically you can come to Hartland and hang out all weekend long and have some fun. But I think the time is now to talk. But this entire board makes it possible to make those decisions, to say, okay, go and do this. But there's so many people that go out and do all that work. Ryan Bailey came back twice this weekend. He didn't have to, but just because he cares about the community, he did. So he came from McWanago. I would also, if I lived in McWanago, come back to Hartland. I'd come here every weekend. But that's just me. but Ryan did. And big thank yous to everybody on staff, and I know I'm going long, but it's thank yous all around. Last one, Ben,
Yeah.
for taping the parade,
Yes,
for
for
putting
sure,
out what you
Ben.
put out. Thank you very much. No one can see you on the camera right now. You don't have one that's
It's
catching
on
you.
YouTube. You can go on YouTube.
No, I know no one's seeing you right now,
They
I'm
can't
saying.
see you, yeah.
But maybe with our new boardroom, then Ben can put a camera on himself. To everybody that makes it possible, honestly, everybody up here and everybody in this community, so many people love this village. It was so humbling, and to just be a part of it, and I can't
That's the
say
heart.
enough about it. It
That's
is.
the heart.
I know,
That's the art.
I know. I agree.
You're here.
All right. No more announcement. I'll stop talking. Oh, we have an announcement.
There's two things that I have. The food pantry did well too through the parade. They got a lot of money and they got donations. We divided them up and spread them to the two food pantries this morning. On another note, I did receive some concerns from businesses in the industrial park. They're wondering what all the Diggers Hotline flags are. Just so you're all aware, they're running 5G from Highway 83 and North Shore. They're running it through both industrial parks, up Cottonwood, then up Hill Street to our tower. That is Verizon that's doing that. Verizon's on top of our water tower. Then when they get done with that project, then they're going to come down Cottonwood to Lindenwood, up through Hartridge to get to Coventry Tower because they're also up on top of our Coventry water tower. So that'll be 5G. Just wanted to give you that information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Chief?
Evening. So, just wanted to go over busy week, obviously, with the bike race. I was a bit apprehensive at the beginning. Talking to my lieutenant and my paramedic that were on site, had nothing but good things to say about it. People with the bike race, very easy to work with, very helpful in what they expected from us and wanted from us. We had 2 people that they treated on scene, didn't get transported or anything. So other than that, it was a great bike race. Busy week for us with fireworks Friday night. Saturday we had 2 displays that we did. One for one of our police and fire commissioners that opened a new business. And then we were supposed to be out in Bristlecone, but they canceled that event. And then Sunday for the parade, they were up at 5 o'clock in the morning washing trucks and getting them ready, and
Sometimes twice.
sometimes twice.
They put it outside and it drizzled on it.
Yeah. And then back in and ready to go at 12 o'clock for the parade. So I was at a conference from Wednesday on, so nothing but good things to say about my officers and keeping the wheels on the tracks and running it for us. So, but otherwise it was a great week, and we're happy to support the village. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief?
Good evening, Chief Tornamisco, Hartland Police Department. I just have 2 parking related announcements. One, we did some posting with the bike race and then with the parade in town around St. Charles, and I've decided to leave that up. So the week before our parade was when St. Charles started construction on their west parking lot, so they lost a lot of their parking for their church services, and it makes that area very difficult for 2-way traffic to get through. So I just have some concerns specifically not just with safety, but also with emergency traffic, being able to get through that area. I've been trying to work through their head of building maintenance. He's been on vacation. I do plan on having a conversation with him tomorrow to let him know, but their parking lot won't be reconstructed and back available to them till September 1st. So unfortunately, it's just for those Sunday mornings. I know there's mass Sunday night and Saturday night, and then also each weekday morning, but those attendances are low enough. It doesn't typically cause the issue. It's those Sunday services, specifically the 9 o'clock. It just, if you're in there at that time, you can have cars starting to face each other, and then there's nowhere to go until that park traffic, if they can even get out. So we do plan on leaving that no parking temporarily up until that September 1st-ish timeframe when that west parking lot's scheduled to be completed. And then also in my staff update, I just gave the board a heads up regarding an issue in the 300 block of Hartwood. We've had a couple residents complaining about an older vehicle parked on the road. It's been called in as an abandoned vehicle. I can assure you it operates, it's registered, and it's not abandoned. We looked into those complaints, but they feel that they don't want that particular vehicle parked on the road near their home, and that it obstructs their driveway when they're moving in and out. Every time we've observed it, it's been legally parked. So there was mention that they may come and bring it to a trustee's attention. So I just wanted to give you some information as to what the complaint is a little bit about and where some of the residents are going in that particular area with that. But right now, nothing illegal from an ordinance perspective.
Jeff, I actually travel every day extensively through that. And I've noticed the vehicle also. And I do know that it runs and drives and it is parked there legally. With that said, that stretch of road, when you get one or two cars, like today there was 3 cars parked, it became very dangerous. I actually had to stop the truck when I was going in and let 2 cars pass, and then one person was trying to get out of the driveway and she was having difficulty. So yeah, it's tight, and I understand it is parked legally, but you know, people coming in and out of there, if you would please just drive extra slow. There's a lot of kids in the neighborhood. People don't necessarily look where they're going when they're driving, unfortunately. And if it does get tight, that could run into some issues, so just be
Right.
careful.
So it's something for consideration, but as we sit today with our ordinances and signage, we don't have any type of police enforcement violation.
Thank you.
We have discussed it with the vehicle owner too, so he is aware, but again, nothing enforceable with what we have right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. Thanks, Chief. At this time, we have the next item is consideration of a motion to recess to closed session pursuant to state statutes 19.85, 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business when our competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session regarding the potential purchase of land for a well site and pursuant to state statutes 19.85, 1C, for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, to consider stipend or bonus payment to the public works management staff, and to reconvene into open session pursuant to 19.852 for the purpose of considering any action as may be necessary and appropriate, and to reconvene into open session pursuant, I might have just read that twice, 19.82 for the purpose of considering any action that may be necessary and appropriate.
I'll say that by memory.
Couldn't do it. No way. Gotta have a motion.
So I'll make the motion that we go into closed session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into closed session. May I have a roll call?
Trustee Anson.
Aye.
Trustee Doral.
Aye.
Trustee Myers.
Aye.
Trustee Walshiger.
Aye.
Trustee Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Lidkey.
Aye.
President Pfannerstill.
Right. With that, we will go into closed session. We will be taking up the item of So we are back in open session, from our discussions in closed session. If anybody wanted to make a motion, discussion and consideration of a motion as a result of the discussions held in closed session, they can.
All right, I will make a motion to make Dave Felkner the interim DPW director, effective immediately, with an additional stipend of $700 per paycheck. Director, DPW director.
Okay.
1 second.
Just an interim director.
Is it 7 or 969? You said 7 plus.
Right, so, he's
That's
saying
total?
an addition.
No, additional to what he's currently
Yeah,
getting.
He's not saying additional, he's saying
He
total.
He said it is additional.
Oh, okay, so on top of the 260, okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded.
Okay.
Did you want to say more?
I thought I'd have to give him this total salary.
No,
right?
do we have?
You don't have to.
No.
because
Oh.
the stipends
You'll,
are
you'll
determined.
just tell me
Okay.
to add the 700.
Okay, additional $700 stipend to his current paycheck.
Okay.
I'll
Do you want
second
to
it
include?
again.
It's been seconded. Do you want to include that? That would bring the total
No.
stipend every 2 weeks to $969.
Yep.
I just wanted to
Yep.
clarify that.
God, I hope
portion
I'm
for
right
the
on that,
superintendent.
Dave.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to make Dave Felkner the interim Department of Public Works Director. And along with that, a stipend amount of $969 per paycheck on top of his already set salary.
Correct.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. We have DPW director.
Thank you, Dave.
Now, I want this done.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it, Dave.
If anybody does not
Well
have a
deserved.
cell phone number, the proper thing to do is get that because all DPW stuff goes through Dave now.
Correct. I'd like to make the motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, you know what we should have done?